Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
A Time for Truth show is sponsored by the Office of Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, a periodontal, dental implant and laser specialist in New York City, for over 40 years. Dr. Fialkoff was honored by the International College of Dentists and Pierre Fauchard, and received the Presidential Lifetime Humanitarian Honor from the White House. Call us at 718-229-3838.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard, you don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart, yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome to A Time for Truth show. It's a pleasure to be with you again tonight. I'm your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, and we have a very special segment. In fact, there are two segments, and it has to do with really, how do you achieve success? And why is humanity important in doing so? And what can be done globally with these economic situations and conflicts that we're all facing? And we want to get right to the show because there's so much to cover, and we're very, very lucky. An engineer, if you start putting his pictures up on the screen, to welcome a Dr. Paul Infante Moñozca, the chairman of the Moñozca Family Office, an internationally awarded humanitarian business, and Mr. Moñozca is a sustainability project creator. He's renowned as an international speaker and a prolific sports enthusiast. As such, he's chairman of the American Basketball Association Global. He's an advisory board member of the Legends Team Cup in tennis for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and is also a patron of Formula One, polo, golf, and yachting events. His Dr. A.B. Moñozca Foundation initially provided medical missions, educational scholarships, and feeding programs. Today, the foundation prides itself as a global entity with numerous alliances and partnerships which impact the lives of humanity as a whole. The foundation is now embarked on playing a key role to balance the singularity factor between humanity and artificial intelligence, to continually expand its network as a family office to impact humanity. The succession of the Moñozca Foundation stems from a family of doctors whose passion was to help those in need, and has been a cornerstone of his advocacy for the people. Paul's business and philanthropic interests include the Formula Green Corporation of Renewable Energy, the Banco Maharlika Limited of Decentralized Banking, Avatar Arc Artificial Intelligence Limited, AI, Coral World Park Undersea Resorts, Hospitality and Family Entertainment, Bargain Bay Membership Shopping in the UK, Hacienda Paquita, Philippines, Agriculture, and Parman Group Holdings, Properties. His recognitions, which are so many, which we will have to really abbreviate, include efforts with the Philippine Embassy in Singapore for support of small and medium enterprises, for returning overseas workers. From the Rotary Club of Suntec City, Singapore's Silicon Valley, as a guest speaker for Philanthropo-Capitalism. For Singapore's Laguna National Golf Club, because of his charitable sports contributions. The 24th Southeast Asian Games, for support in the training of the Philippine national basketball team. Oracle Corporation's Global Partner Award. Sporting Singapore's Inspirational Award. And the Singapore Sports Council thanked him for his patronage and charitable contributions for sports in the Lion City. And I could go on and on and on, but we would occupy both shows with his accomplishments, recognitions, and awards. So we're going to cut this to a brief minimum. And Buddha, if you will, let's bring him up live on the screen and welcome Mr. Paul Infante Moñozca to a Time for Truth show. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you, Dr. Ben. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
It's a pleasure to have you, and I want to get right to it because you're quite an amazing human being. And let's start at the beginning when you were a young man. I'm very curious, I'm sure so is the audience. What were your dreams at that time?
My dreams were like any other's dreams, and it's too basic. I think in university I just wanted to set up a hot dog stand by the beach, and that's true. That's really all I wanted to do. So I loved surfing, skateboards, and that was just my simple dream. I guess it's gone way beyond that.
Well, you know what? I can understand your dream because that's a beautiful life, being out in the sun, being in the ocean with the salt water. It's a beautiful, mock-up. And I'm curious because you had such a tradition in your family, and your grandfather, your father were really quite prolific in their own regard. So what was it like for you to grow up with, such accomplished and productive family members?
You learn from them. So I've always been a person which wanted to learn from others. So I always am very observant, and I'm the type which looks into a lot of details. So it's really an honor for me to have a family which has been of service to others for 3 generations now. So doctors are admirable in one key aspect, which is the selfless giving of service always for others. And that's, I think, something that everyone should learn from.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. My father was a doctor in Cuba, and he was my role model. And there's a lot of stories of what he did in Cuba, giving samples of medicines to the patients who came to my mother's pharmacy, who was a pharmacist, and didn't charge anything. They're just helping the people. So I came from the same type of tradition. And what I'm curious is, so now you come from that, and you really love sports. So tell us about your history with and your love of sports.
Sports comes naturally for our family. So family members are always in basketball, golf, and golf. So we are very competitive. So that's why I think that we even push family members to play a sport. My daughter recently has been playing tennis for her school team. So that was new for us. But sports brings your competitive spirit. It builds bridges for what you do. And that's, I guess, something that everyone knows, that when you when you come for these sporting events, um, especially how if you've been playing, that really builds your competitiveness, which therefore you can use when you move into the corporate jungle.
Absolutely right. I would think it must give you a lot of discipline and drive, no?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So that encompasses the competitive spirit I was just talking about. It teaches you how to sacrifice. It teaches you how to be able to foresee things. It builds camaraderie. All these things, and yeah, overall, it just really makes you a better person, both inside out.
Makes a lot of sense, you know, and you've accomplished so much, and you're an internationally renowned entrepreneur, corporate leader. But you know what? Let's go back because the people watching this are going to want to know. Tell us a little bit of how it all started. I mean, you talk about the hot dog stand, but okay, but let's bridge then. How did it start? What started to happen?
I guess I have been asked that question so many times, and the long and short of it is, people think that something like this, where you evolve, is planned, and it's not. It's not planned. You ride the wave. You go through um, the sacrifice that needs to be done for you to reach your goals. You need to be extremely focused. You basically want it. You want to be able to succeed in your corner. And so it starts off with, I guess, a kid which is just always putting a smile on his face, making a lot of friends, and bringing that smile everywhere he goes. Um, and and just really having the quest for knowledge. I have a insatiable quest for knowledge. I'm a person which at one point was reading 5 newspapers a day.
Wow.
And so if you have to educate yourself, you really have to have that knowledge. And I would wake up at 5 in the morning to be able to learn from different newspapers on what's going on. I felt that was even better than an MBA. So in other countries, when you read the newspaper, when you read what's in on the headline, you learn something. In other countries, when you read the whole newspaper, you don't learn anything. So you have to be very selective. I think my time in Singapore and in Monaco is something which is very important in that process. Um, there is a stroke of luck which is part of it, and the bulk of it are good prayers, and being able to believe in yourself that you can make a difference. You have a purpose in this world. So I've had that since I was a kid. Um, I'm glad to say that I'm the type of kid which is a friend to everyone. So that's the kind of virtues that I think that I have built, which I think I continue to want to be a bridge for everyone.
Well, I think, you know, from my perspective, that would have to do a lot with your success because, you know, when you're a friend of someone else, you're not looking at what you can get from them as much as you are to help them. You want them to do well. And that makes total sense why you would get to where you got to. But I'm sure a lot of the viewers are going to say, okay, but come on, Dr. Fialkoff, what does he do He doesn't get any barriers. He just smiles. So tell me, what do you ever encounter any barriers? And if you do, what happens when you get a barrier? How do you approach it?
Definitely, there's nothing which leads to success where there's no sacrifice. So I've had so many barriers, so many barriers. I've been through several failures, which I took very hard on me. And so when you go through these barriers, especially at the point when you don't have anything, it makes you transition yourself into, well, either you become a bad person or a better person. And I chose the latter, uh, to be able to embrace that and be able to bring out that competitive spirit so that I can move forward. It is not true that it was smooth sailing along the way. There's been a lot of challenges, a lot of sacrifices, um, to the extent that there are certain sacrifices that can affect your family. And I'm just glad that I was able to um, get over and above that, and maintain myself, in a good stride. And when you do get to that point, um, there is a lot of things that you know remember. So there's always a saying to always remember where you came from. And there is a new saying which says, but you also have to remember who you are today. So that's something that I think is for everyone to listen to.
That makes a lot of sense. Life has changed, and you're right. You can't get stuck in it. You have to move, and I go through failures, and it's so true. When you're down, I always try to take this viewpoint. Okay, what are they trying to teach me now? What didn't I do right? Okay, I don't really like what I'm looking at, but what did I do? And I try to get that viewpoint, even though it could seem that it's over there, it's over there, it's over there. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. And so I want to get to the next thing, because you've done so many different things that I want to really touch on them all. And what led you to embrace this American Basketball Association Global League as its chairman?
Well, what happened was, I believe that was in 2010, and the founders of the ABA were in a certain situation where they needed to move across border from the U.S. And we were able to agree on certain things, and there was a lot of, I think, also American players which wanted to move into opportunities overseas. So my role was to be able to complement the U.S. chairman. So we carved out a global league, and started off with the basics, training and everything. And we would send national teams to the U.S. to train, and television coverage, let's say. I think still till today, much could have been done, but it requires a lot of money to be able to develop the league globally. So I think that it was a move that I felt would bridge um, leagues in especially other parts of the world. So we would also look at how the job opportunities could expand. So American coaches could move into new markets, the players. At the same time, players from Europe, Asia could start training in the US, which is the best training ground for that sport. Um, Basketball is always close to my heart. So one thing I saw was that as we developed the global side, our national teams could participate. as opposed to just one single player being recruited. So it was more value for money long term. But again, a lot more can be done. There are certain transitions happening again in the league, and let's see if we can play a bigger role with it.
Very nice. I think definitely sports. I use that a lot in the events that I do. In fact, this weekend we're going to have a basketball game for community awareness, for drug prevention, for religious tolerance, and I think it's a beautiful activity because it unites the activity and the action, and like you said, the competition with brotherhood and collaboration, and it kind of like extroverts everybody out of the everyday life and cold and pragmatic, and so just being lighter. Like I always call it like being back in high school and going to play touch football in the side yard, which were very pleasant moments for me in Connecticut where I grew up. So let me ask you a question, because you also have very interesting, and I know one of the questions people are going to want me to ask you is if you have a 48-hour day or something, but assuming that you probably must do something like that, can you tell us a little bit now, because you started another foundation, which is called, I think if it's correct, it's called Torch of Truth, is that right?
Yes, it's a torch of truth, and it's I think ample time with everything happening in our world to be able to surface. So it is both a physical and Web3 online library, really, where people can go to and ensure that what they read, what they are educated on, is the truth. And we have a way of being able to present it, and that would be accessible to the whole world. And we're very proud of it because it took us 10 years to collate all the information. Um, and I think that with how the world is working every day, this is something that they should put some time on every day, and be able to at least know one truth every day. Sad to say, when you look at the internet, you look at every single aspect. I mean, even YouTube, you have to sift through the rubble to get the truth. And AI is helping out in a big way, being able to filter out. It is so important for our next generation to uphold the truth. And I think that this is the right time. So the Torch of Truth is a library which is available online, and we're gonna have a physical one. It would be a sizable one, and we will announce where the exact location of that would be. But we have a whole team working on it, and it's gonna happen. I mean, whether I'm here or not, it's gonna happen. Yeah.
That's beautiful, and I was gonna make a little corollary or make a metaphor here that it's so interesting that life has put us together, the time for truth and the torch of truth, and that you're going to be coming to New York this week and bringing the torch of truth with its fire to the Global Time for Truth Convention at the United Nations this Friday morning, where you'll be speaking, and we really have a lot of very influential and powerful human beings from all over the world who are going to be there, and it's going to be a pleasure to have you there. I find it so interesting, like you said, how life tends to give you a wave, and that we have to ride that wave together and help humanity. I totally agree with you. I want to ask you real quickly, because we're getting to the end of this segment, why then also you decide to become global ambassador for, I think it's BPUR International, an organization that has to do with key religious leaders and diplomats in 60 countries, which advocate the international treaty banning political use of religion, which is so important. We're going to discuss with the UN. Tell a little bit about that.
Well, BPUR, at the time that I was asked to be part of it, was founded by a very respected journalist from Morocco. And this person had a very good advocacy. I felt that his advocacy was a huge component for global peace. He's doing his best, and we're all very supportive of him. Salam Sarhan. And he wants to be able to touch on the advocacy of some type of control so that religions are not being used to wage war. I think that's something that everyone should understand, that it needs the support of everyone, and world peace is something that needs to start with religion. So if someone is messing up religion, um, it's going to lead to a very unprecedented time. So BPUR is there. I continually play a role, a very limited role actually, but yes, I try to expand as much as possible. The program, so that there can be that awareness. A lot of things are happening for the organization in Europe right now, and we hope that it could move cross border, in due time. Yes, so it's an interesting organization.
Well, it's quite amazing. All these different groups that you belong to. We're going to be doing another segment to continue with your other side. You have many different facets to your character, to your life. And, as we embark on this second segment, I wanted to ask you just really quickly, this Maharlika Association, which is the largest identity and cultural preservation movement in Asia. We don't have more than maybe 45 seconds, but tell us a little bit about that before we end this segment.
It's a grassroots association. It was handed to me by the former First Lady of the country. And it was an association which needed to be fixed, basically, because a lot of people were trying to use the brand, and the brand, it stands for the culture of the country. So it's expanded itself. It has registrations in excess of 12 million people, and it has recipients of at least 500,000, and it's moving in a big way. It's created its own bank, and I think that as a grassroots association, it looks after the protection and enforcement of our cultural identity, which is something close to my heart, especially in the age of technological singularity. The priority is to be able to protect cultures and people, which is being eradicated every day, in also different ways. So that's what the association's about. It has a lot of good people inside, and we've managed to clean up a lot of it. And soon we're going to be reaching 300 cooperatives under the association, which is going to have a major role in artificial intelligence and how AI corrects history. So that's a topic for the ages again, which I think we would need to take up in another call.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? It's a pleasure to have had this first segment. I think we can take that up in the next segment that we'll be having. And for those of you watching, I'm sure you're really enthralled, enthused, and ready for that segment already, but you're going to have to wait. So for tonight, it's a pleasure having had you, and we'll see you on the very next episode of A Time for Truth show. Be well.
This show was sponsored by A Time for Truth Foundation Incorporated as a community service.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got. But the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet